Wrestlebread Podcast, bringing you the latest news, recaps, and analysis of AEW and WWE. Get the unique perspective from a wrestling fan of over 25 years. Here's your host, Jaydee.
What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 105 of the Wrestlebread Podcast. So we had Fastlane this past week. We also have a lot of news that came out, a lot of news and rumors. Fastlane was not a good pay-per-view, let's be honest. I watched it on Peacock, and I'm still in my 7-day trial. So after the 7 days, you pay about $6. And that pay-per-view was a $6 pay-per-view, let's be honest. And I'm going to get into Fastlane a little bit, but my thing is, every year, WWE gets themselves into such a bind between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania because they're trying to create storylines, to create matches for WrestleMania, but they're trying to carry it out over the next 2 months with 2 pay-per-views without trying to actually have the match on the pay-per-view so we can save it for WrestleMania. So what we get is a lot of false finishes, double countouts, matches that don't happen at all. Basically, some of the things that we was getting at Fastlane. And I'm going to get into Fastlane a little bit. I'm just going to get into some news and some rumors as well. Bit of a side note, I actually started watching The Boys on Amazon Prime. I don't know why I haven't been watching it this whole time. I haven't watched it this whole time. And I've heard that it was a good show. I just never really got around to watching it. And I actually started watching it tonight. And I'm only on to episode 2. But oh my gosh, such a good show. Very interesting. I used to watch, I think it was called Powers. It was another show that featured of people with superpowers and things like that, and I enjoyed that show as well. But with The Boys, oh my goodness, a lot more realistic, and it really portrays like how the world would be if there was actual superheroes, and I really appreciate that it's not coming off like, like another episode of like Lois and Lois Lane, or Clark and Lois and stuff like that. It's Smallville, not really Smallville, I like Smallville, but like a different side to a superhero show. So I had fun with it so far. I'm gonna keep on watching it, and if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. So getting into some news and some rumors, NXT is going to be moving to Tuesdays after WrestleMania. We all heard that, NXT was going to go to Tuesdays eventually, which I think is a hell of a lot better. Not because of the stupid Wednesday night wars that everyone keeps talking about, because it's not a war. It's not a war. Less than 1 million people watch the shows. Watch each show, I should say. AEW has conquered 1 million at a certain point, but it's consistently between 600 and 900,000 people that watch the show. So it's not technically a war that's going on. But I'm very happy that NXT is moving to Tuesdays because it'll be a lot easier to watch NXT and to watch AEW, to kind of give it full attention. Especially people who, like both companies, podcasters, journalists, things like that, who really want to give their undivided attention to one show instead of either splitting attention or watching one show live and watching the other one, hours later or whatever. But after WrestleMania, NXT will be on Tuesdays, which will be a lot better. And actually, you would think that they're going against Impact, but from what I've read, and I only saw it briefly, so I don't know if it's true or if there's more details about it, but Impact is actually moving to Thursdays. So for all the people who love all the wrestling shows, you'll have wrestling pretty much every single day of the week. God bless you if that is you. Me, I could watch more companies like New Japan and Impact. And at one point I was watching Impact, but after a while, just between watching AEW and WWE, it's a lot. Speaking of AEW, AEW is actually going to have a house show as it was announced on AEW Dynamite on April 9th. And I was like, oh, house show on my birthday. Not really looking to travel anyway, so or else I probably would have bid at that and then try to sneak and get a ticket or something to Mania. But no, not doing Mania this year. But very interesting that AEW is going to do a house show. Probably try to get, the crowd that is coming down to Florida for WrestleMania, to try to, entice them to get a ticket to AEW. So I would say that's smart on the business front. Also with AEW, it was also revealed on AEW Dynamite that Cody and Brandy Rhodes they actually have a reality show. They showed the trailer of it during AEW Dynamite. I immediately thought of the Miz and Mrs., who also has a reality show. I think it's still going on. It might be on the season 3 or 4. I'm not quite sure. But to be quite honest, Cody and Brandy's show plays out very similar to the Miz's show, except for you see a lot more going on backstage with wrestling. You see a little bit more of wrestling and things like that. Whereas though the Miz kind of concentrate more on his family, we get to know, Maurice and his kids more, his dad, things like that, and especially Maurice's mom. I'll catch Cody and Brandy's show from time to time. Like I do the Miz and Mrs. I don't actively watch the Miz and Mrs. Of course, there are the times where it comes on. I forgot. I think it used to come on after Raw or something like that. But it used to come on after one of the wrestling shows, and then I would catch it then. I think it was actually SmackDown that it used to come on after. And I would sit there and I will still have the TV on, so I'll sit there and catch it then. But I'll catch Cody and Brandy's show from time to time. I'm not going to be active, really watching it because, it's depending on, I don't know what time, I forgot what time it's supposed to come out, but I'll catch it here and there just like I do all the other shows. Also, it has been announced this week as well that the Great Khali and Kane are heading to the Hall of Fame. And I like what WWE is doing this time. They're having the announcements done on their show, The Bump, and they have someone telling the inductee that they're getting inducted. So for Molly Holly, it was the Hurricane. For Kane, it was actually Undertaker came on via video and actually told Kane himself that he is being inducted to the Hall of Fame. Very emotional moment. Kane, if you haven't seen the documentary with him, and not really a documentary, but like a sit down talk between him and the Undertaker, you really find out that it was Undertaker all along, just like WandaVision. It was Undertaker all along, who was behind the character of Kane and bringing Glenn Jacobs to the WWE. And Kane mentioned that he was like, if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be. And he started getting, choked up and said, he was like, you see the Undertaker get choked up too. And I think that's really special that we have that, because they do that too with the NFL. You normally see, I forgot his name, but it's the Hall of Fame guy. He comes and knocks on the door to let people know that they made it to the Hall of Fame. So I think I like the way that WWE is doing it this time. And it's not like this, as news breaking from CBS or whatever. And it's like, how is other networks breaking your own news? It should be news that's coming from you, not news that's being broke by CBS as if it's TMZ or something like that. No, it's your news. You break your own news. So I'm very happy that Kane is going to the Hall of Fame. Kane has been with WWE for so long. Very critical part, as far as one of the storylines with The Undertaker and, with Team Hell No and a lot more things that he's done over the years as well. The Great Khali, a lot of people are iffy about him being in the Hall of Fame. Did he have a big Hall of Fame career? Probably not. But I figured the biggest reason why he got into the Hall of Fame is because the work that he has done with WWE and India. That he, for people in India, he is a great legend to them. Someone who's broken barriers, coming over into the U.S. and breaking ground as a wrestler. So I see that type of aspect. But as far as like his in-ring, things like that, I feel like there are other people who should go into the Hall of Fame before him. But as we all know, the Hall of Fame, there is no committee. There's only one person, probably two, that has a say-so who goes into the Hall of Fame. And there is no place for us to visit any exhibits or memorabilia for the Hall of Fame. Which, it's a traveling thing. If I remember correctly, it travels with WrestleMania. But I think if WWE is smart, they can open up a museum for the Hall of Fame, charge some money. You'll have fans come and pass by year round. You can even host like an event, or whatever. You can host a yearly event, open it up for tickets or something like that. But, who knows. So, getting into Fastlane. So I have a big gripe when it comes to Fastlane. Sometimes Elimination Chamber, but it's mainly the Fastlane, whatever the second pay-per-view is between Royal Rumble and Mania. And my thing is, they just do away with this pay-per-view. We're not doing, the brand split pay-per-views anymore. So there's really not a big need for two pay-per-views between Royal Rumble and Mania. Like I said, WWE locks themselves into a bad spot because they're trying to save things for WrestleMania while trying to create matches and feuds leading up to it. And my thing is, just push the Elimination Chamber a little later. You can have it late February, early March. And instead of doing Fastlane, whatever, just create a whole weekend for the Hall of Fame. Instead of trying to squeeze in the Hall of Fame, on a Saturday or Friday night on WrestleMania weekend, which, the Hall of Fame is there, but it's not really all about the Hall of Fame. It's still a bit of, the WrestleMania feel, but have a weekend. Make it a network special, whatever, of the Hall of Fame, and you can have a Legends night. You can either do it, I don't think you want to do it the same night since the Hall of Fame goes for so long. But you could do the Hall of Fame on Saturday and then have a big Legends night on Sunday. Or you can just split it like they're doing this year, have half the Hall of Fame on one night, do a Legends night. Bring back all the legends, Stone Cold, Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, whoever it is you want to bring back. You can, show like matches of, whoever's being inducted. You can have some wrestlers who aren't really featured in WrestleMania. You can have them have exhibition matches. You can feature NXT people during that night. Like, there's a lot that they can do instead of just having this pay-per-view that they put on that is like so half-assed it feels like a glorified Raw. And that's what Fastlane felt like. It felt like it was a glorified Raw because, a lot of the matches that they did, it really didn't set up anything so well. So going into the pre-show, we had Ali versus Riddle, and this was a title match. It's for the United States Championship. This was kind of a good match. Ali kept, looking over at Retribution and, telling them, did you see what I just did? Like he was a damn child or something. And this was a good match for the pre-show. This match could have been on the main card, seeing as all the other matches that we had got. I feel as though there was it was a little bit of holding back in this match. We've seen Mustafa Ali go. We seen Riddle go, especially in NXT. But it feels like there was just something missing from this match. Of course, Riddle retained the match afterwards. Mustafa Ali started. I'm sorry, I keep saying Mustafa. I keep forgetting it's Mustafa. But anyway, I'll just say Ali. Ali started blaming Retribution, saying that, you know, this is your fault and this, that, and the third. Reckoning, aka Mia Yim, walks away. And then Shane Thorne walks away. I think his name was Slapjack or Teammates. Well, I forgot who was who. But then he gets chokeslammed. So obviously Retribution is no more, which will be a lot of happiness for a lot of people. My only concern is, okay, now that Retribution is no more, what is happening to the 4 people who have been wearing masks and has had, you know, dumb names this whole time? I felt as though Retribution could have been done a lot better. They could have been similar to Nexus, but they was pretty much dead in the water from the get-go. When they added Ali, you know, I felt as though maybe there was some type of hope for them, but it kind of went out the door, really. But this was a pretty good pre-show, for all that's worth. So going into the main card, we had the tag team match of Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. I'm just confused with these tag team matches because Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair lost the last time that they were in a tag team match, and I don't understand how they were able to get another title match. That's what I'm confused about. Of course, Banks and Belair, this is all the setup for WrestleMania. Their gear was actually matching, which I thought was a little cute. Of course, there was arguing with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Of course, because Nia Jax suddenly is in love with Reginald. She took him shopping and things like that, and she's just infatuated with him. So there was a bit of arguing back and forth. This match really wasn't that good. Like I said, this was all just a setup for Sasha Banks to turn on Bianca Belair, which of course is what happened.
Now, don't forget to talk about Charles the Butler.
We're live, pal.
Charles the Butler.
That's the Hubs, in case y'all wondering. He was cracking up at Miro calling Chuck Taylor Charles the Butler, so that's what that reference was for. So of course we got the turn that happened at the end. The ending was very weak with the Sasha Banks obviously was waiting for the spot for her to get rolled up. And then that slap though at the end, she slapped the hell out of Bianca Belair. But I felt as though we could have done this a little better. We really didn't need them to go against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax again for this to happen. We could have easily done this turn on SmackDown, really. This title shot could have went to someone else. Riot Squad, I'm thinking of, but it really could. It could have even went to Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. It could have went to a lot of different tag teams this match. So I felt as though this was a waste, especially the fact, like I said, that Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks lost the last time that they had the title shot. Then we saw a little bit backstage, some footage that Shane was training, and then all of a sudden he very weirdly landed on his leg wrong and injured his knee. So now he is on a crutch, and he bumped into Elias, who was asking for a match at WrestleMania, and he told him he has an idea. Was that Raw or was that tonight? Forgot. I think that was Fastlane. So then we get into the match that we all were kind of waiting for. Big E versus Apollo Crews. And I figured this would have been a match that would be saved for WrestleMania so that we would probably get some type of maybe a botch ending. But I was hoping that Apollo Crews would win the title so that he can go into WrestleMania as champion and, you know, talk that stuff. Especially since he is the real African American and he's walking around with his spear and his the 2 bodyguards as well. This was a good match, and if you hear a lot of rumbling in the background, that's my cat who now decides to have a cameo. Next thing I know, my kids will be making a cameo this episode of the podcast. I guess this is a special episode for you guys. You guys are hearing all the family members so far. Not all of them, but at least 2 out of 4. This was a good match. This was, which I expected for Big E and Apollo Crews to have a very good match. The ending though, I don't know. The ending was pretty botched. I thought that both shoulders were down. It looked pretty botched. So, but however, nice recovery because Apollo Crews didn't even let the bell ring for the 3rd time. And when he started attacking Big E right away. And it was very confusing that Big E like retained the title because it looked like his shoulders were down. I don't know. It just felt like it wasn't really a planned out finish, I'll say. Especially the fact that normally WWE loves their replays and we didn't get not one single lick of replay of that finish. But of course this is going to set up for him, Apollo Crews, to get his rematch at WrestleMania. I just don't know why we have to have this pay-per-view, truly, because this really didn't do anything. Then afterwards, we supposedly have the match between Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman, the match that I kind of figured wasn't going to happen because they were saving it for WrestleMania, especially after it was announced on Raw that it was taken off the website leading up to SmackDown. We didn't see this match listed on for the Fastlane card at all. And then on SmackDown, suddenly it's back on. So I kind of figured that they were thinking to remove this off the card, but then realized, oh shit, we actually announced this match, so we got to do something to kind of, you know, make this match go away. And so Shane McMahon and Elias comes out, and Shane McMahon mentioned that Elias will be taking place of Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. So this, of course, was a squash match. Pretty much what we thought it would be. And that was that. It wasn't really that good of a match. I mean, it wasn't that good of a match, really. So after that, we get Riddle, who is rolling around on his scooter, and he starts talking to Nakamura. Then, of course, it goes into this long-ass monologue. He turns to look for Nakamura. Nakamura is gone. Nakamura went and hid so he can concentrate on his match. And that was his match versus Seth Rollins. Now, on paper, this should have been one of the matches of the night. It was a good match. It definitely was a good match. But it felt like, just like with Riddle and Ali, that it was something missing. Like, it could have been a hell of a lot more. Of course, this is going to lead to Seth Rollins' feud with Cesaro at WrestleMania. He kept talking about the number 22 because he got swung 22 times. Seth Rollins wins this match. But like I said, it just felt like it was just something missing from there. Like, it felt like with these matches so far, except for the Elias and Strowman match, because that was that. It just felt like it was just like they were told, like, hey, don't go 100% in these matches. Just go at, like, 80%. And that's what I felt like. Until we get to this match, which was Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. This was a no-holds-barred match. Very intense match. Very good match. Like I always say, 9 times out of 10, whenever there is friends or family feuding each other, It is always a good feud. It is always a good match. And this was no less. I was just, just shocked that we had this match on Raw. The match where they put the stairs on our heads and they bumped into each other like they were two pyramid heads from Silent Hill. I just don't understand why we got that match for free. You could have just simply saved it and put it on for Fastlane. Of course, because we have to get this feud out of the way so that we can have Drew McIntyre go against Bobby Lashley. But this was a pretty good match. And I like the fact that they were doing things that you don't normally see in a no-holds-barred match. There was the kendo stick that Drew McIntyre tried to stick into Sheamus' eyes. Of course, there was kendo sticks. There was there a pile of chairs, something like that? We've seen that done before. But of course, just like with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, they spilled into the where the LED screens are for the Thunderdome. It spilled over to there. They were fighting, going against each other, and then Sheamus Drew McIntyre put Sheamus through one of the screens, and sparks was happening and things like that, which was a pretty good one. Of course, Drew McIntyre defeated Sheamus, and there was something else that happened in this match too, but I forgot what it was. But this was definitely, it felt like a pay-per-view worthy match. Didn't feel like it was going to be, hold on, breaking news. Rob Van Dam to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Is this true? Reading this on Ringside, I guess it's true. Okay, so Rob Van Dam is going into the Hall of Fame. This is from the Wrestling Observer. Interesting. I would think that Rob Van Dam would not be associated with WWE like that. But yeah, Rob Van Dam is being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So congratulations to him. He is one of my favorite people from ECW. I had the joy of seeing him live. He came, it was a Money in the Bank match that happened, Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I should say, that happened in Philly, and they brought him back, which I always joked was the thing that they do. Every time they come to Philly, they would bring out Rob Van Dam, because that's the only ECW person that they have stashed that they can just bring back for whatever. But congrats to Rob Van Dam. Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sure there are going to be jokes about the girlfriend coming out to twerk for him. Don't know. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But back to Fastlane. This felt like this was the first match that actually made the pay-per-view feel like a pay-per-view and not just a match that was going on Raw. And then we were on a high, and now we just go down to a low. And there are a lot of opinions on this next match. You either love it or you hate it. There might be a few that was in between. And this was Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. And I had to really think about it, because at first I liked some things, but all in all, I'm on the hated team. And the reason being is because they could have handled this a lot differently from what they did. First of all, WWE kind of messed up. I figured that Bray Wyatt was off TV for a certain reason. Come to find out, him and JoJo had another kid. I don't even knew that she was pregnant for the second time. I knew they had a baby not too long ago, but there's a girl that they had. So now they have two kids, a boy and a girl. So once I saw a picture of their family, I was like, okay, that's why he was off TV. But WWE painted themselves in a corner with this one by having Randy Orton solely feud with Alexa Bliss in the disappearance of The Fiend. Truthfully, Alexa Bliss has done a excellent job handling the storyline on her own without Bray Wyatt there. Alexa Bliss was entertaining during this match. She really came across like Harley Quinn to me, especially when the light fell from the ground and she was like, "Oh, almost had you." So the beginning of the match, Randy Orton comes out. He spits out the black stuff. Alexa Bliss comes out, and of course, because WWE does not allow intergender wrestling, there is no physical interaction with them at all. She dodged out the way. He ran into the ring post. She got out of the ring. They were walking around. That's when she like looked up and the light fell from the ceiling. Then she gets back into the ring. She's enticing Randy Orton to get into the ring. Gets in the ring. She shoots fire, and I was sitting there like, okay, this is like, what's his face from Street Fighter Yoga Fire. And then I thought it got Randy Orton, but apparently the commentator said he blocked it. And I'm like, how do you block a fireball? Because if you block a fireball, normally, something, your arm will get burnt or something, but whatever. Of course, and then he's standing there staring down Alexa Bliss, and then we see a tear in the ring. We see a hand come up. Now, I was hyped because we all knew this was coming, and I was interested to see how he would look. But I'm gonna be completely honest with you. When I saw the hand grab him, and then we saw the shot of the arm, and I saw that the arm was like black with like, I guess bubbles on it, and I immediately thought of the enemies from Power Rangers. Those suits that you have and stuff, and I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no. It would have been a lot better if, and I was sitting there like, I hope that's not supposed to be his skin. Like, I'm hoping that maybe, the clothes or something, or, we just came up from a bubble bath or something. But we see the hand grab Randy Orton's leg. Randy Orton backs up, and Randy Orton's face selling this was pretty good. We see the fire shoot up, very similar to Kane or The Undertaker. And then we see the head comes up, and the coloring, the color of the lights during this match, very weird. And I was very pissed off because with the lighting, I couldn't see what he actually looked like. And then they had all this damn fog coming up, and you couldn't see him real clearly yet. So I just see him turn, and I see that the face is disfigured. And then he gets up, and I'm trying to look to see what it looks like. And he's standing there. Alexa Bliss jumps onto Randy Orton to push him into the Fiend. The Fiend does Sister Abigail. And then Alexa Bliss, this is the part that everyone keeps talking about. She actually sat on his stomach, but it was very close to the, lower regional area. But she sat on his stomach. And the Fiend stood behind her as she pinned Randy Orton, which I figured she was going to win because of the Fiend. I just didn't like the way that the match went. So I'm going to talk about two different things with this match. First, I'm going to talk about the Fiend. I saw the mask of the Fiend. I love the mask. Looked like Tom Savini did the mask again. If you don't know who he is the person behind the mask for pretty much a lot of horror masks that you see in the horror movies. I believe he is responsible for all of the Friday the 13th mask, if I'm correct. He does a lot of horror movie effects, and I respect horror films. I can't sit here and say, oh, I'm a big fan of horror films, because Okay, yeah, he did Friday the 13th. He is a horror makeup artist, and he did special effects for Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Friday the 13th, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he directed some movies as well. But he is so good. He is so talented when it comes to the makeup art in horror movies. Um, but I love the mask. I love the way that the mask looks. It looks like his original mask, but it's melted. One of his eyes is white. The mouth area is like rotted almost. I don't know what the fuck he's wearing though. I would think that it would. I would think that it would be his. It should be his original outfit, but just burnt. But he looks like, SWAT. Like someone. Like it looked like it was SWAT gear. I don't know. It doesn't look like the way he looked originally, and I still couldn't figure out what it was he was wearing, because then I see like white on him, and then it looks like the arms are actually the wrist and the forearms are actually exposed. I'm gonna have to wait to see when he appears again at WrestleMania, because then he appeared again on Raw, and I still couldn't really figure out what the hell he was wearing because the lights were a little weird again. But the outfit wise, I'm not really a fan, but I love the mask. But the thing is, now we're getting to the territory where, what are we doing now? What are we doing with this character? Because not only, it's the Fiend, and he won't be out but so often. Oh yeah, I'm looking at a picture of his outfit now. The forearms are a bit exposed, and it's not really that cool looking. The fingers are very, very chunky. Very Ninja Turtle like. Now that I'm really looking at it, I have a really good picture of his outfit and everything. That skin is Ninja Turtle. That is straight up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not the smooth kind like we saw in the 90s movie. This is if, maybe the later movies. I forgot what they actually look. I forgot what their skin looks like. Then it looks like he's wearing like tactical wear. I don't know what the hell he's wearing as far as outfit wise. But we're kind of starting to get ourselves into a corner with the Fiend, because the Fiend is, he's going after people who has wronged Bray Wyatt with him stopping at Randy Orton. But now, because the Fiend is been burnt alive and Bray Wyatt is gone, because we didn't see Bray Wyatt for the past couple of months too, so it's like Bray Wyatt now stuck with the Fiend. Is this the end of the Firefly Funhouse? Truthfully, why did it take so long for the Fiend to come back? Randy Orton got his whole face burned, and he came back one week later with like perfectly good face, But with the Fiend is like permanently disfigured. I mean, I kind of figured because he was set on fire for a pretty long time. But I don't know. But I'm like I'm trying to like figure out the storyline. Like, I guess he went to the depths of hell, and that's why he is like completely burnt the way that he is. And what's with the black goo, the evil Randy Orton type of situation? I don't know. It seems like we're getting this match at WrestleMania. I don't know if we're going to do this live or we're going to do what we did last year with a cinematic match as well, which won't be fair to the fans that'll be there, because they definitely want to be able to cheer for the Fiend live. But my other thing with this match is the booking. First of all, them saying it's Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton is pretty much the same to me as AEW talking about the exploding barbed wire death match ending in an explosion. Complete other bullshit. I felt as though the way that they should have booked this is to have Randy Orton, kind of like quote unquote move on to another feud. They could have definitely used Andrade in this spot. They could have used AJ Styles, since AJ Styles kind of like been, pretty much walking around and just has nothing but a tag team title match at WrestleMania. And you could have just had Randy Orton and whoever, feuding. You can have Alexa Bliss still messing with him, but not it to be like the biggest focal point that it's leading to this match. This match could have easily been Randy Orton versus someone else, and then Alexa Bliss comes out and starts messing with him and, having him walk around. For them to sit there and say, Alexa Bliss is versus Randy Orton, this felt like it was definitely a waste of time. As far as making this a full-on match that you put on the card, this definitely could have been Randy Orton versus someone else. Have Alexa Bliss come out, mess around with Randy Orton. Randy Orton gets rolled up into a pin, so whoever he was feuding with get that a little bit of a push, quote unquote, with a win. And then have Alexa Bliss mess with him for, like a minute with her walking around, the stuff falling. You could have done exactly what you did here, with her walking around the ring, avoiding him, stuff like that, because there would have been no reason for Randy Orton to try to attack her because they're not in the match. But the fact that they put them two into a match as if we were actually going to have intergender wrestling match was it wasn't good. Especially the fact that we had mixed gender matches, and if the woman gets tagged in, the woman on the other side immediately has to come in. So there's like zero type of interaction with the man and the woman unless the woman smacks the guy or something like that. So for them to do this, it was a bit of a waste of time. So now we're going to get into the main event, and I would have to say this would be to me the match of the night, and that was Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan. The storytelling in this match was so good, and I really had to really think about this match the day after and really reflect on everything that happened, and this was pretty good storytelling. It is not really the underdog, but the underdog versus the tribal chief. Daniel Bryan, and it's not the same Daniel Bryan that we had at WrestleMania 30. This Daniel Bryan is very confident. The beginning of the match, he was toying around with Roman Reigns, showing that he can outsmart him if need be, and really had Roman Reigns, going hold for hold and things like that. Of course, Roman Reigns is, he's more, pound for pound type of person. Strictly very, more of a brawler, very aggressive type of thing. And Daniel Bryan was sitting there sort of using his speed and his agility and his wit to outsmart Roman Reigns. And I like the story with that. The slight thing was the referee, who was obviously waiting for the spot for him to get hit so that we can have Edge enter the match. Of course, once we get to that, Edge comes in, tries to count to 3. Daniel Bryan kicks out. Roman Reigns looking at Edge what the fuck was that? After a certain point, we had Jey Uso, who came in with a chair. He then starts attacking Daniel Bryan. We had Daniel Bryan, who went to hit Roman Reigns with the chair, and he actually hit Edge with the chair. So that's how we're getting this triple threat. If you don't like the fact that this is turning into a triple threat, well, too bad. This is turning into a triple threat, and this is going to be a pretty good triple threat. And this needs to be a triple threat, truthfully, because it feels like it's time for Roman Reigns to lose the title. But you still want to keep Roman Reigns strong. And this is the thing that has happened in WWE for God knows how long, since the start of triple threat matches. Where you want the title to go on someone, but you don't want the champion to actually lose. So we still have the tribal chief staying as the tribal chief without losing the title. So whether it's going to be Edge who wins the title or Daniel Bryan who's going to win the title, one or the other is going to be the person who gets pinned. Roman Reigns is not going to get... I highly doubt that Roman Reigns is going to get pinned for this match. But this was outstanding storytelling. Especially the part where Roman Reigns leaves out. I mean, not Roman Reigns. Edge leaves out after he hit... I think he hit Daniel Bryan with the chair. And... No, this is while Edge was down after he got hit with the chair. And Daniel Bryan kept putting the yes lock on Roman Reigns. And I was a bit shocked that they did this. But we see Roman Reigns... He's starting to like fade. He's fading. And I thought that we were just going to have Roman Reigns pass out from the yes lock and then come to when the ref gets there. But we had Roman Reigns tap a little bit, which was very surprising because Roman Reigns kept saying he'd rather lose his arm than to tap. He'd rather die than to tap. And so we got a little something for, Daniel Bryan to, have a bit of a one-up on Roman Reigns. To say, like, yeah, you beat me, but I got you to tap. Something you couldn't do. And that's going to fuck with Roman Reigns a lot more. And I think that is such good storytelling. To sit there and say, yeah, you're the tribal chief. You are the head of the table. But I made you tap. And, Daniel Bryan screaming tap, tap, tap every single time he put on the yes lock. This was... Like I said, such great storytelling. And this really, kudos to Daniel Bryan, kudos to Roman Reigns, even kudos to Edge for the storytelling that happened in this match. And it's like matches like this that makes you like really love what wrestling can do. But this would be match of the night for me because it was a very good match. Overall, Fastlane really wasn't a good pay-per-view. The matches that really saved the pay-per-view was Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns for sure. Nakamura and Seth Rollins is like right there, but it just felt like it wasn't like 100% of effort. Like it was like they were told to do a match, but don't give 100% type of situation. Because we definitely know that Nakamura and Seth Rollins could tear the house down if they were able to just really like do the match the way that they wanted it to. So, I would give Fastlane, honestly, I would give Fastlane a C-. I want to give it a D, but because Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns match was so good, if it wasn't for those two matches, this would definitely be a F, truthfully. So, yeah, WWE just really needs to figure out to get rid of the second pay-per-view between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. They just have to do something else besides a pay-per-view. Or, have a women's event or something like that. You don't have to do a second pay-per-view where you're struggling not to really put on a pay-per-view because of WrestleMania. That's what it is. They're struggling not to put on a pay-per-view so that they could save everything for the next pay-per-view. And that's why you should do a Hall of Fame, do a Legends Night, do some type of thing. You can have a legend, a returning legend, if they can wrestle in the ring against a current superstar. When we had Kurt Angle, we could have had Kurt Angle wrestle. You can have Stone Cold appearing in a segment with someone. You can have Bret Hart appearing in a segment with someone. You can have Randy Orton RKO someone. Like, it's so much that you can do. You can have the Hall of Famers appear in the ring and let them, especially when we have fans again, You can have the Hall of Famer talk to the fans, talk to the people at home. Instead of us giving them like this whole speech that we get at the Hall of Fame, you can have them talk directly to the fans, you know, with the fans in the stands. You can, you know, you can show like a match that they're known for. You can have, you know, dedicated matches and stuff like that. You can have NXT people. You can have like pretty much, you can have like a Worlds Collide or something like that. You can have like we have NXT people versus WWE people, kind of in honor of the Hall of Famers and the legends. It's like something you can easily do. People will tune in for that, because they do Legends Night just for people to tune in, because they can easily say, oh, here comes Stone Cold Steve Austin or something like that. You can even have Stone Cold Steve Austin do a, you know, a Broken Sessions live with a Hall of Famer or something like that. Like, there's so much you can do, and it doesn't have to be a pay-per-view event that you put out, because like I said, WWE doesn't want to put out a pay-per-view because they're trying to save everything for WrestleMania. So going into wrestling this week, I'm only going to tap into the highlights. I'm not going to go through every single thing that happened. Starting off with Raw, Bobby Lashley, chef's kiss with the Hurt Business. Lashley was going against Sheamus. We had the Hurt Business come out at the end, and then Drew McIntyre comes out for the save. And I love the fact that Bobby Lashley and MVP are upset that Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin interfered, because they're sitting there saying, hey, the champion isn't looking strong. He's looking like he can't handle things because you guys had jumped in. And I might have it backwards. I think it was Drew. Oh, no. Yeah, it was the Hurt Business that came out first. Then it was Drew who helped the save. And if you hear a kid in the background, that is my loving son, who is probably playing Fortnite right now. Send him a little message on the app for him to quiet down. But anyway, so I really appreciate the fact that they did that they had it so that, you know, something different, because the heel doesn't always have to do like typical heel stuff. He can sit there and say like, hey, don't come out, I'm trying to look strong, blah blah blah. And so Bobby Lashley was very upset with Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander for interfering in the match. So I really appreciate that. And then Lashley later on in the show put out a bounty on Drew McIntyre, which is a bit interesting, because he went into the locker room and he told the guys who normally are chasing after the 24/7 championship that there's a bounty on Drew McIntyre. So it kind of gives a bit of a different dynamic with this feud with Drew McIntyre, because now he is fighting off everyone. It kind of gives me that whole somewhat the one versus all that we seen with Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. It also kind of gives me the feel of back when Stone Cold Steve Austin was in the Royal Rumble, and Vince McMahon put a bounty on Stone Cold Steve Austin for whoever eliminates Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think it was like $100,000 or something like that. But a lot of people started to go after him. Of course, it was like The Rock in the end who actually eliminated Stone Cold Steve Austin and got the bounty. So I think that I can't wait to see how this plays out with Drew McIntyre, and I hope they do this right, that, you know, it's like Drew McIntyre walking down the hall and then a gang of people start attacking him. That's what I'm hoping would happen. Now, if that actually happens, is a totally different story. I mean, they could probably just have it that Drew McIntyre is just having a match, and then people realize, oh shit, there's a bounty on this guy type of situation. And then everybody chases him around like he's the new 24/7 match. So next, we another highlight, we had Asuka, who was going against Peyton Royce, which was a good match. Kudos to Peyton Royce. She's definitely trying to show a different side of her. Of course, she lost. And Asuka was out there, and then out comes Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley mentions how Charlotte is at home recovering from COVID, which is a bit surprising because I don't think that rumor was out there. And so the fact that, they are, saying it outright that she has COVID is, a bit surprising. And the other surprise is that not Charlotte, is that Rhea Ripley is challenging Asuka at WrestleMania. And I was like, this is what we're doing right now. And Asuka first said that Rhea Ripley is not ready for Asuka. And then she sat there and said, no, she sat there and said, I accept. And so I'm like, okay, bit different. And I was wondering, like, what the hell is happening with Charlotte now? Because normally when someone is away due to COVID, and if they really want that person to be involved in WrestleMania, because we're about almost 3 weeks away from WrestleMania, so I would figure she would be back in time and that they could continue the match. But then, of course, there were rumors that maybe there was a rumor out there that the reason why she is no longer in WrestleMania because of Andrade, that she gave up her spot for him to be released or something like that, which I highly doubt is. I figured it wasn't true. Doesn't seem like it's true now. It seems like she is going to SmackDown from the latest rumor that I saw. I am so hoping she doesn't get involved in Sasha and Bianca Belair. Like, she does not need to be involved in that feud. It makes zero sense for her to just jump into that feud. I could see her going against Bayley if she's coming over to SmackDown to kind of give that matchup going for WrestleMania, so we can have, if you want Charlotte to be at WrestleMania, you can have her go against Bayley. But I'm really hoping that it's not her jumping into Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, because that would be a very big tragedy, especially if you're trying to make history. You can't make history if there is no history. It needs to be just Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Charlotte doesn't need to be in there. And if Charlotte gets involved, if they add Charlotte to it, I'll be so highly upset. I will be very highly upset and I'll be offended. And that is the honest truth, because Charlotte does not need to be in the feud. And for her to go, I'm not going after this title, I'm going after that title. It's just straight WWE just, doing something just to fuck with fans. Because they know the fans want just them two to be in the feud, and they want them to be main event night one. And like I always say, whenever the fans get something that they want, we have to pay. And so if they end up being main event for night one, and they throw Charlotte Flair in there, it's because that's a straight up fuck you to, we're gonna give you what you want, but you're not gonna like it type of situation. Another thing, of course, we have The Miz, who challenged Bad Bunny. Are we surprised by this? Not really. We have Kofi Kingston and AJ Styles, who also fought. Pretty good match. Of course, anybody who go against AJ Styles is normally a good match. Then we get to the ending where The Fiend decides to call out Randy Orton. Alexa Bliss comes out with a Jack in the Box. She turns it, and then the lights went out. Then the lights come back on, and there was fire that came out, and The Fiend appeared. Randy Orton had gasoline that he was throwing on The Fiend. The Fiend was just kind of standing there. The The Fiend was just standing there, not moving or anything like that. Randy Orton went to light a match, and then Alexa Bliss went to distract Randy Orton, and I think Randy Orton then hit the Fiend with an RKO. Alexa Bliss distracted Randy Orton a little more. Then the Fiend rose to his feet, got Randy Orton with the mandible claw, then did the Sister Abigail, and then Alexa Bliss had pointed to the sign. So we are getting the Fiend versus Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania. And that's when they show the picture of a good look at the Fiend. Like I said, the mask is really cool. I love the mask. Don't know what the fuck he's wearing, though. I really don't know what he's wearing. If you can explain to me what the hell he's wearing, please tweet at me at Jaydee Talks. Just say the Fiend is wearing this. Because I don't know what he's wearing. But that's how Raw ended. And, you know, some people like this, some people don't like it. But, oh man, can you imagine if Tom Savini was doing Mask back when Kane had first started? I mean, I give it to the Fiend. The Fiend is selling for fire more than Kane did. And if you didn't see OG Kane, the story with Kane when he first came to WWE was that he was the long lost brother of The Undertaker. And The Undertaker set a fire. Well, there was a fire at their parents' home, and Kane was caught in the fire and died. Come to find out, Undertaker did it purposely, or it was a mistake. I forgot which story it was, actually. But he was playing with fire or something like that, and he actually set the place on fire. I do remember Paul Bearer was saying that Undertaker did purposely to intentionally kill Kane. But apparently Kane was burnt by fire, and so when Kane came to the WWE, he was wearing the red and black mask, long hair, body completely covered, and the story was that he was burnt by fire. They had the black around his eyes to kind of sell the fact that he was burnt. So he feuded with The Undertaker. As we go on through the years, slowly we started to see more skin from Kane. First, it was one arm that was exposed, and then there was like a see-through like mesh, not really mesh, but like a see-through material. I think it was on his chest or his arms at one point. And then there was no arms. There was no arms, and then that's when he took off the mask and half his head was shaved and he was looking crazy. But can you imagine, like, I was looking at the Fiend and I was like, yo, I could only imagine if this was available back when Kane was, you know, just starting. Like, the mask that Tom Savini could have gave to Kane. Don't have to give him the bubbly skin, but at least have Kane, you know, show some type of sign that he was burnt by the fire. Especially during that time when we had The Undertaker with the mind games and the lightning that Kane and Undertaker was able to control and stuff like that. Oh man, that feud would have been, the feud between Undertaker and Kane was really good. But oh my gosh, if you had Tom Savini do a Kane mask, it would have been like 20 times better. Like, people that had nightmares of Kane. Oh my gosh, a mask of a man who's burnt by fire, the brother of The Undertaker. Oh my goodness, it would have been crazy. So with Raw, this is what the WrestleMania is looking so far. So for night one, we have Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. We have Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Bad Bunny versus The Miz for night two. Roman Reigns versus Edge. The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. And I could have sworn we have The New Day versus AJ Styles almost. Just don't know when those nights would be. Which night it would be, I should say. Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. Of course, we'll have. I think we're gonna have Big E versus Apollo Crews again. Time will tell when we have the next episode of SmackDown. Maybe Riddle versus Sheamus. They was showing Riddle on Raw, who was riding around his scooter again, and he did crack me up though. When he was riding around Sheamus, and he was like, "Bro," like he is a straight character, yo. He reminds me of a character from either Wayne's World or Bill and Ted. I can't figure out which movie he would like clearly fit in, but he reminds me of those two movies like every time he talks. And so of course he was talking to Sheamus, and he was like, he was pretty funny though in this John, because he was like, he was like asking him questions about being Irish basically, but he was sitting there like mentioning leprechauns and all this other stuff. That was pretty funny. But obviously we're gonna get a match out of them too for WrestleMania as well. More likely a match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, probably what are they called, the Dirty Dogs or something like that, versus the Street Profits. Of course, we're gonna have the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale, and then we're gonna have the I forgot what it's called. Is it called the? No, it's not called. Is it called Mae Young Battle Royale? I forgot the actual name of it, but it's the female version of the women's. Unless I'm making it up. I could have sworn it was. No, that's the Mae Young Classic. Wasn't they going to call it Fabulous Moolah or something like that? I think that's what it was. And then the trophy was actually full of a whole uterus. Ah, my gosh, that trophy. But I think it's now just the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. I think that's what it's actually called, but who knows? So, going into the Wednesday night shows. Like I said, I'm not going through each and every match. I'll just go through highlights. We had the tag team match with Io Shirai and Zoe Stark versus Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. And this was a pretty good match to show all four women. Zoe Stark, definitely they're displaying her as a star. She has a lot of potential. She does. I just feel like she's not there yet, especially to, like, I mean, they're really, like, pushing her to the moon. But, I feel like she's not exactly there yet. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, like, it's something missing with her character. She, like, it felt, like, she seemed, like, she has potential. But, like, I don't know, like, what the hell kind of, like, what separates her from other NXT women? So, we have Candice LeRae, we have Io Shirai, we have Raquel Gonzalez. What separates Zoe Starks from, like, the average women we've been seeing on NXT? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what's that bit of an oomph that will put her, like, straight to the top? That's what I'm missing from her. And, what's the difference between her and women like Ember Moon? What is the difference between her and, like, a lot of... I'm trying to think of the perfect comparison. There's another NXT superstar that I like, it's on the tip of my tongue, of someone else who's on NXT, and they have potential, but it's just like it's just that something that is missing from them. I would like to say Bianca Belair when she was starting NXT. Like, yeah, that's who I want to compare it to. Like Bianca Belair in NXT, when Bianca Belair was a heel in NXT, I felt like she has potential, There was just something that was missing from her. And now it's because she is not meant to be a heel. She is meant to be a face. She's better as a face. So I don't know if like Zoe Starks need to be a heel or something like that, but it's just something that's not connecting me when I see her on TV. Like, she's good in the ring. I can see it, but it's just like I'm not caring for her. She's not giving me a reason to care for her. People like Io Shirai, Rachel Gonzalez, Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, they're giving me reasons to care. They're giving me something to like keep me tuned in, to keep me focused on them, to keep me like engaged every time I see them on TV, whether it's in the ring, outside the ring, backstage segment, backstage interview, promo, whatever. They have it that can connect you to them through TV, and you stay engaged with them. And Zoe Stark, for right now, she's not giving it to me. Like, she's not giving it to me. Maybe because she's so new with NXT. I know she's been wrestling for a while, but she's like, I don't know if it's just the live TV type of situation, but it's just like something that's just missing from her. But we had Gonzalez and Dakota Kai that won that match, which I'm not surprised about because we have Gonzalez, who is going to be facing Io Shirai for the title. I love Rachel Gonzalez. I feel as though it's not her time yet. I have to say, it's not her time just yet. I feel like maybe, and even though it's the perfect time because this is the Mania takeover, but I feel as though give her a couple of months and give her the title. But I don't feel it right now. We had Bronson Reed versus LA Knight, and I was very surprised. This was a good match. Of course, we had Bronson Reed, who came back from a while. But I'm very surprised. Bronson Reed won against LA Knight. And I really didn't expect that. I figured that, LA Knight will win this. This is his first match in NXT. And I kind of figured that he would win this match. So I was very surprised that he won this match. We had Carrion Cross versus Oni Larkin. Good match. Of course, we are setting up for Baszler versus Carrion Cross, which I cannot wait for. We had Walter, who made his return, going against Drake Maverick. Pretty much a squash match. It is what it is. It's exactly what you thought it would be. Of course, then we had a Walter versus Ciampa, which I cannot wait to see that match. That has potential to be match of the year candidate. I'm going to say that right now. Walter versus Ciampa, especially crazy ass Ciampa, match of the night. We had the women who defended their championship, but I'm happy that they're doing a lot with the titles. I just feel as though the wrong women have the titles. I really think that Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, should have the titles. And I felt as though if they had the titles, you can use this time to give Raquel Gonzalez a lot more, like, a bit of a push to kind of, like, put her on a bit of more of a pedestal so that when she goes after the NXT Women's Championship, it'll be the right time for her to win it. But it feels like they're kind of rushing this, so that's why she doesn't have the titles. Jordan Devlin versus Kushida was pretty good as well. And then we get to the main event, with the contract signing for Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. So good. They showed a clip of Adam Cole walking into this jiu-jitsu studio that Kyle was at, and such a good segment. Adam Cole cursing and everything, being held back by the people who were training there. So good. Very good promos cut by both men as well. Adam Cole explaining the reason why he cut himself away from Kyle. Kyle cutting a promo as well. There was another segment that I completely forgot about. Roderick Strong was in the back, and Cameron Grimes coming in here, Ted DiBiase Jr. coming in trying to buy trying to buy the Undisputed Era to, feels like he's going to take it to the moon, as he said. And he was trying to sell it to Roderick Strong, who, of course, punched him square in the face. We're going to have a 12-man battle gauntlet match, if that's correct. The way that William Regal explained it, it felt like it's sort of like a Royal Rumble, except for it's not. But apparently it's a gauntlet match for 12 men. It's going to start with 2 competitors, then every 3 minutes someone else will come out. Pinfalls and submissions will determine who gets eliminated. The last 6 who are there will be the competitors who will be in a ladder match on night 1. And in the order, and then those eliminations from the last 6 will determine, I think it will determine like who will be in. I feel like I have this completely wrong, but it will be like whoever. The way that they're eliminated is who will. I have this completely wrong. I know I have it completely wrong. But it was like the way that they get eliminated is the way that will determine their spot in the match or something like that. So obviously it's not a ladder match, Jackie. I forgot what type of match that it is, but yeah, it will determine who will be in the match and will also determine the placement of the match as well. Okay, it's a gauntlet elimination match to determine the number 1 contender for the NXT North American Championship on night 2. And the way that they are eliminated in this Battle Royale match will determine their spot in the eliminator, the gauntlet match, which, okay, that's going to take up a lot of time on that pay-per-view. But yeah, so we have, it's Cameron Grimes, Roderick Strong, Leon Ruff, and I'm going off the top of my head here. Leon Ruff, I think it was Kushida. I'm missing people. I'm missing a lot of people, obviously. But of course, Johnny Gargano is pretty upset. Cameron Grimes and Roderick Strong are actually going to pull double duty next week. Because they'll be facing each other, and then they'll also be in that battle royal as well. So going into AEW, AEW was a fine show. I felt like there were some things that they definitely could have done without. I caught the tail end of the Matt Sydal, Kenny Omega match, which was like, okay, it is what it is. I really didn't expect Matt Sydal to do anything. Then there was the Hangman Page match, which I really didn't get to check out. I did see this promo that Britt Baker cut, which was pretty good. She called out Mick Foley, because after their match, Mick Foley tweeted out a thumbs up, and Britt Baker said that, it took you 20 years to become a legend, and it only a hardcore legend, and only took me 1 night. And then she called out Tony Khan for signing legends and has-beens when he had the biggest legend under her nose, her. And she said that she is the one who put AEW on the map. She's upset that Thunder Rosa mentioned that Thunder Rosa put the women's division in AEW on the map. And she was like, AEW is the second most important letters behind the most 3 important letters. And I was about to say, RKO. But no, she said DMD. Very good segment. Obviously, she's getting some pointers, probably from her boyfriend, not to knock her down, but, she's getting better and better. Because when AEW first started, wasn't really that much of a fan of hers. I respect her, but she's gotten so much better since she turned heel. and it's getting like better and better and better. We had the Hollywood Blondes and Dante Martin versus the Pinnacle, which was fine. But then, of course, we had the post-match promo that was like, whoa. First of all, FTR saying, I forgot who said what, but one of them said that they are willing to die for the Pinnacle because they don't have a wife and kids and stuff. It was a pretty good promo, I have to say. Setting up for, the Pinnacle versus the Inner Circle. But I'm just so tired of the tag teams and the trios and quadruples and the singles and the factions. And if you're not part of this faction, you're part of this tag team. If you're not part of this tag team, you have this manager. It's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, looking at the matches from AEW Dynamite, especially when we go to like AEW Dark and stuff, and I didn't even check out AEW Evolution. Here we have a trios match, one, and then another trios match, and then we had some singles competitors, thank goodness. But normally it's always trios, tag teams, this faction versus this faction. After that, we had the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. I like the Lucha Brothers, so I'm kind of biased here. I like this trios with Laredo Kid. Not to knock the guy, but Brandon Cutler, kudos to the guy. He has improved. But the thing with AEW, because with AEW, wins and losses count. So when someone loses, it's something that you can be mad at because wins and losses count. I'm just confused because we had Brandon Cutler have a whole ass storyline of how he couldn't win a match, and he was like 0-29 or 0-20 or something like that at some point, and then he got his first win, and it was all on AEW Dark type of stuff, and a little bit was on AEW Dynamite. But now we're supposed to kind of like take him seriously because it's 2021. That's the part I don't get. Because they showed his win-loss record and it was like 2-3. And I was like, where? And I completely forgot that it resets. Which I'm confused about because if it resets, then why are we talking about how Kenny Omega has 35 wins? It really shouldn't matter in 2021 how many wins you have if the records kind of reset. But, maybe I'm looking into things a little differently. Who knows? But I didn't get Brandon Cutler. After the match, we had Kenny Omega come out and cut a promo against Brandon Cutler, and he talked to the Young Bucks, told the Young Bucks to throw it up, and that was a pretty good promo though that Kenny Omega had cut. But he told them to sweet him. The Young Bucks walk out. So we have that going. Let's see. Then we come to the main event, Darby Allin versus John Silver. And this was a pretty good match. I am very happy that they finally are displaying their own people instead of relying on either someone from the Elite or someone from former WWE to do these main events. And I forgot to mention this, but Andrade finally got granted his release from WWE, and people were sitting there saying he needs to go to AEW. No, he doesn't. More likely he's going to go to a promotion in Mexico, which he did before he went to NXT. But he does not need to go to AEW. AEW has too many people right now. I'm going to be completely honest about AEW. AEW has too many people right now. AEW has too many people. Okay. First of all, AEW, this is year, 2 or 3? I think this is year 2. We just had year 1 of them being on AEW Dynamite. So they have 2 hours on Wednesday, about an hour and a half on YouTube with AEW Dark, and now they have a third show on YouTube. AEW Dark Elevation or something like that. And they still have people that aren't displayed on the weekly basis. AEW is starting to gather some more WWE people with Paul White and Christian Cage. And they have the Cody and Friends thing that's going on, like the segment that no one asked for with QT Marshall, and then Cody Rhodes coming out, cutting a promo saying, "I'm not gonna hurt you, you're my friend." Dude, do you not forget what happened with MJF, the last person you thought was your friend, and then he sat there, square hit you, with a chair? I mean, he low blowed you, if I remember correctly. So I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to hurt you because you're my friend type of situation. And he granted him a match. And I'm like, okay. Because then Cody was like, I know that, you're my friend and people know you're my friend and stuff like that. And I don't want it to be my friends. Like, yeah, a lot of people call it the Cody and Friends show. Because that's all that we were saying for a while. And now we're getting all these people who are coming from WWE and stuff like that, and it's slowly turning into WCW 2.0, which I don't want to happen to AEW. I want AEW to be good and flourish. In order for them to flourish, they have to concentrate on their own people. So for them to put this match on with Darby Allin and John Silver, chef's kiss. So good. So good. Because people are going to wonder, why am I watching AEW if I could just watch WWE? Why am I going to watch Christian Cage and Paul White when I can turn to WWE? Especially the casuals, especially people who, only watch WWE. And I admit, it's cool for AEW to do stuff like this because, like I said, when they first started and they had Jericho and they put the title on him, I was fine with that. I was fine with them putting the title on him versus Hangman Page because it wasn't time yet. They have to get people to come over to watch them who wouldn't normally watch them. People who watch WWE, they find out, oh man, Chris Jericho's a champion. Oh, he's on this show. Oh, let me check it out because I loved Chris Jericho. That was all fine and good, when AEW Dynamite started. When AEW started and they were going into AEW Dynamite, that was fine because they needed a big name to get people to tune in, because if they had the title on Hangman Page, people would treat it like it's Impact. I don't know who this guy is, well, I'm going to sit there and watch it. But if you use Jericho, oh man, Chris Jericho, I love Chris Jericho, yada, 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 all this that he did in WWE, I remember this segment, this was my favorite, oh, let me check it out. That was all fine and dandy. You got to mix in your own people in there, especially your women's division. You have the great match with Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, and kudos to AEW for doing that. You got to keep it going, though. And the thing is, AEW can't bring in any more people right now because they have to concentrate on the people that they have right now. People like, with the Dark Order, with Darby Allin, stuff like that. And I was fine with the way that Sting was used. Sting was used to kind of put over Darby Allin, to put over Ricky Starks and Brian Cage even more. I mean, hell, look what Brian Cage did during the fucking match. He had Darby Allin in a suplex and walked up the stairs with him. So, AEW just needs to really concentrate on their own talent. And even CM Punk was saying that. A lot of people were saying that. You need to concentrate on your own talent. Because you're signing these people from WWE who doesn't have that many years left. I mean, truthfully, how many years does Christian have left in him before he is out? How many years does Jericho have in him before he is out? Paul White is doing commentary, but it seems like he is going to be back in the ring. How many years does he have before he's out? Now, yes, with someone as young as Andrade, they can definitely do something. Hell, I can clearly see him in a feud with Rey Fenix or Penta, or even do something with Cody Rhodes. But it's not they shouldn't do it. AEW shouldn't, bring in any more people because they have too many people. I mean, if you ever check out AEW Dark, they have like 14 matches that they show on that YouTube channel. I don't even know how many matches they show on that Monday show, but 14 matches that you can put together for an hour and a half show, and then you have people, and then you still have matches that you have on AEW Dynamite, and then you still have enough people to put on matches on Monday. It's too much. It's really too much. They have to get the roster together. They have to figure out what they're going to do with people, and they can't rely on former WWE superstars. Speaking of former WWE superstars, Christian is actually going to have a match next week on AEW Dynamite versus Frankie Kazarian, who Frankie mentioned, you've been my friend, we've known each other for a while, this, that, and the third. And he even cut a little shot at Christian, asking him if he's busy on Monday nights, and goes, oh, that's right, you're not busy on Monday nights. So but that's my little bit of 2 cents for AEW. They just have to get it together, especially if they're trying to be in this for a long term. They're not going to last long if they keep signing former WWE people. They have the money to do it. That's one thing that they'll have over WCW. Tony Khan and his father have buku amount of money, so they can give the big ass contracts or whatever. I mean, eventually a business falls if you spend too much damn money. But it's not going to be sustainable if they keep signing former WWE superstars. Because then there'll be people who will try, especially hearing money that's being paid. I mean, Chris Jericho mentioned how he gotten paid more in AEW than he's ever did in WCW. And soon we'll have people who will purposely want to leave WWE to try to get more money in AEW. Which is kind of, good for the wrestler, but it's just going to put pressure on AEW to keep signing this person and this person and this person, and it's going to turn into a fourth WWE show after a while. So they just need to concentrate on their own people, really. And Andrade does not have to go to AEW. Not everyone who leaves WWE have to go to AEW. Sometimes it works, sometimes no. Andrade, if he decides to, well, I highly doubt he goes back to Mexico because of Charlotte Flair. So it may be possible that he goes to AEW just to stay in Florida. But I don't know. I think they just need to concentrate on their own people for right now. Because what they do is they put themselves in this bind. They got this new hot shot signing, and then they do what it seems like they're trying to do with Christian at first, and have them go after a title, or they just put them in a dumb storyline type of situation. So I disagree with that. But that's it for the Wrestlebread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to hop on Twitter and follow me at Jaydee Talks. That's JAYDE Talks, and follow the podcast at Wrestlebread. You can find the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you listen to audio podcasts. Let me get some shout out to Julian and Rob Bass from Wrestling Court Podcast and AlternativeMinds.com. Keita and Jay from the Keita and Jay Show. Chris from We Talk Next Podcast, which is featured on the Keita and Jay Show. Nando and Larry from Half K Podcast. Devin Hafiz from Clark Street Wrestling. Shout out to other podcasts as well. Straight Talk Wrestling, Dirty Heels Wrestling, Three Falls Podcast as well. I believe, oh man, the name escapes me. I think it's, oh my gosh, hold on. Also, shout out to Generation of Wrestling Podcast as well. I checked out, they did an interview a while ago with Diamond Dallas Page that was pretty good. So definitely check them out as well. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how you feel about Fastlane. We are slowly on the road to WrestleMania. I did a poll on Twitter. Didn't get a lot of votes, but it's okay. Normally I do something for WrestleMania. Last year I went through a match from each WrestleMania and did a review, and so this year I decided to put out a poll of what type of WrestleMania matches to review, whether it's the worst matches, best matches, fan choice, or my personal favorites. And it was the best matches of WrestleMania of all time. So I'm going to go through the top 10. I'm going to do a bunch of research of what is the top 10 best matches in WrestleMania history. And I will be doing a special episode of it. Maybe for YouTube. I keep wanting to do it for YouTube, but technology. It's kind of hard to do things when you don't have a full desktop working and you have an old laptop that you're working on. But it's okay. I'm going to still push through, so be on the lookout for that for a special episode, because we are about like 2 weeks away from WrestleMania, so I guess I have to get on the ball sooner or later. But we got Stand and Deliver, NXT TakeOver. We have a shitload of wrestling that's coming up for WrestleMania week. Hall of Fame that's occurring on 2 nights. WrestleMania that's occurring on 2 nights. NXT Stand and Deliver that's occurring on 2 nights. And then sprinkled in there is a Raw and a SmackDown as well. NXT Live. Actually, no, not NXT Live, because it's going to be the NXT TakeOver, but we have AEW Dynamite as well. And then that week will be the 2-year anniversary of the podcast and my birthday, so a lot that is going on the week of WrestleMania. But stay tuned on Twitter for announcements of things that I might be doing. I might do a live stream. I might just do a live stream like I did for episode 100. But we will see. But like I said, thank you for listening. And until next time, guys, peace.